you're watching my video. It's always the one that I'm not dressed very well in are the ones that seem to go viral, right? The one you think is going to get one share and one like happens to get to more people than you thought. So I was talking to a friend of mine and I thought, I probably should really dress better. And then several of my friends said, the well-dressed thing just doesn't seem to work for people. People really just want grassroots people, just regular people that are just doing their thing. So I come to you today with a hat, and I come to you today on a Saturday. It's hot outside with just giving you a few thoughts. I wanted to thank everybody that watched my video yesterday. I'm hoping that you enjoyed it. I hope that you share it. Today's message really is to be able to talk about a couple of things that I think about. I'll commonly go to town, and with the traffic, it gets so bad, right? And one of the things I always think about is, if everybody hates traffic, why do so many people create it, right? If people don't like to be in congestion and have four cars go, like in Nampa, right, at the Karcher overpass, right? You go down there and you got to wait like 6 lights to be able to get through anywhere. But when you look at it, there's like 3 cars that go through at a time, right? Well, that's kind of a trivial issue compared to what we're talking about, or what I talk about, but it does bring a point to consider, at least in my mind. And that is that if you're cognizant about the things that you're doing, then you will probably affect people either less or more. In the case of traffic, you will become you'll become less a part of the problem, because when the light turns green, if everybody's in line, more people will get through before the light turns red again. Well, I don't know. Good luck trying to get people on the same page there, right? And the other thing I was thinking too was what people always tell me. People are like, Tom, you get a chance to be able to visit lots of people. You get a chance to meet people everywhere and travel all of Idaho and, half of 5 other states and stuff like that. What's the general consensus? And I said, well, that's pretty easy. There's a bunch of them. The most popular one is that people are busy. But one of the biggest complaints that I get, believe it or not, is I just wish, Tom, that people would come together. And I thought, that's a lot like the traffic thing, isn't it? I mean, if you could get everybody that is before you in the traffic to be able to understand what you're saying, all of a sudden, at least for that moment in time, everything would be as efficient as possible. Well, wouldn't that work in the political realm as well? We all talk about, in the previous video, I had talked about the fact that it's really great that we have some of these people, some of these know-it-alls that know everything, and they just don't, and they think that that makes them super patriots. Well, it might make you super, and it might make you a patriot, I suppose, but it only helps you understand a part of the process of what patriotism really looks like, at least in my view, or at least being effective as a patriot. And that is your ability to not only transfer the information that you know, is to transfer the information that you know beyond yourself. You should be thinking, or at least I am, what can I do with what I know to be able to share it with more people, to educate more people, to be able to have them be more efficient in what they're doing? And that's really the important part of what we're doing here. The other part of that, that I had mentioned earlier was, a big complaint is, how can we get people together? Well, how about people's willingness to get together? I'm working on some things with a few friends, so you guys can hang on to your hats, and hopefully it comes to fruition, and hopefully you'll be as excited as I am right now, as you can only tell by the grin on my face. But what if your desire really is to be able to bring as many people together as possible, and that's everybody's desire to be able to do it, why haven't we done it? Sometimes I think it's a lot like activism. We just want to overly complicate it, or we want to be able to throw something in there that would make it to where it would give us a reason not to have to engage. But if you search your soul and you realize that the most important thing you could do, at least in your mind, is the desire to be able to bring everybody together, what could possibly be better than to be able to bring people together? You want people together? Figure out a way to bring them together. And so part of the idea that I had is trying to be able to figure out a way to be able to bring people together. Because what it's going to do is it's going to further separate those that are willing to double down, as I mentioned in my previous video, or whether we should encourage people to just walk away. What it's going to do is it's going to separate those that are from that are fearful to those that aren't, and those that are willing to step it up a notch or to be able to take it to the next level. Those that have proclaimed this thought process about wanting to get together with other people and wanting to communicate and wanting to do this. Well, we're actually going to test this out and to be able to see if you really are a person of your word and that's really what you want. So many people say, well, Tom, I just don't know where to go. You know, I can't tell you the amount of times and how much time my phone doesn't ring. I can't tell you how many times I've put my phone number out there. I can't tell you how many times I've found so many people that I talk to that are involved in these other groups, but you know, they've never contacted anybody else either. So on one hand, you have them saying, I really want to get more involved. I really want to be able to see people come together, but they themselves are really not doing much to be able to make that happen. And so I think about that a lot. I wonder why people say something and why so few people do what they say that they would want to do. You have an issue related to the silent majority, right? Everybody hears about the silent majority. I think it's a great excuse to be able to help people understand that, you know, patriotism and love of liberty and freedom and country is much bigger than we know because we have a silent majority. Well, let's think about that for a minute. If you're part of the silent majority and you have a feeling for the understanding of what's happening in this country, what benefit do you feel that you bring to the table being part of the silent majority when we know, you and I both know together, if we're supposed to hold each other accountable, that you're supposed to be standing firm with everybody else and not hiding? If you want to be part of the silent majority, you know what? I got to tell you honestly, I got a problem with that. Unless the fact that you're unable to do it, you've got some kind of health issue, maybe you have PTSD, maybe you got some other issue, but you should be engaged in some other way. Material distribution, material creation, connecting people with other people. I mean, if you have a general knowledge of the ginormity of what we're facing and the seriousness of what is going on, and the fact that Idaho is really hanging by a thread, and the outcome of this election could mean everything, why are you not doing more than you should already? I'm talking to people that are running, you know, that are involved in local politics, right? Some of these candidates I've talked to every single year, you know, they say, Tom, I'm running on a shoestring budget and I'm running on a shoestring of people. It's like, well, I wonder how that's possible. We have every liberty group in the state working on local elections, and all of these people that are running for office don't have anybody to support them and to be able to increase their ground game? What exactly is going on here? Either people are going to step up and they're going to start supporting their candidates and they're going to start acting like ground human beings and they're going to start outwardly proclaiming who they're voting for and why, since we have to focus on local elections because that's what everybody wants. It's like, if that's what you want, then why don't you become part of the cars in front of the line that I'm telling you that's about to turn left? Why don't you stop being part of the silent majority and get up off of your couch and start realizing the importance of the position that you're supposed to be playing? And ask God, if you happen to be a believer, is what should I be doing? Because I can guarantee you, he didn't say sit on the couch. According to Matthew Trewhella's book, The Doctrine of Lesser Magistrates, I'm sorry, but you don't have a leg to stand on. This is a time, and I'm going to recap from yesterday, is to double down or to walk away. And if you feel like you can't decide, then there is more than enough people that you could be communicating with to be able to ask them. And we could show you, and we could tell you whether you should or not. I saw a comment on yesterday's video, don't scream at me. Didn't I mention that? They mentioned something about having PTSD. If you got PTSD, then don't listen to my video. If you happen to have something that holds you up from being involved in the liberty movement completely to where you can't do anything, why are you even here? This video is not to apply to people that are just going to sit on the couch and look at me and admire my freaking hat, my clothes, my beard, try to make fun of what I'm saying. It's designed to be able to activate citizens and to get them off the couch. We have a critical election this year, since everybody likes local politics. And I had mentioned yesterday about what Ammon has had to endure since everybody got an opportunity to know him. I told you guys about the fact that I've had guys that have posted his mugshot on there about somehow that he's not worthy of a governor. But what I forgot to ask you is, if he's not worthy of governor, in your mind, who is? The one that has enslaved you? The one that has locked you down? The one that has insulated himself and with the bureaucracies? The healthcare bureaucracy with Director Jeppesen and the rest of these freaking morons? He has completely distanced himself from the people, on one hand, as one governor person that all of these people seem to support because at least he wasn't in a jumpsuit. He's not fighting for anything. This guy is not fighting for anything. He's already got what he wants. He's got all the money. I've heard he's one of the wealthiest men in Idaho. He's got the ability to be able to be surrounded by the bureaucratic morons, to be able to make bold statements about whether you're essential or not, all while telling you that he didn't lock up the state of Idaho. And so you've got somebody that has completely distanced themselves from the people. And then in comparison, you've got somebody else that just happens to have a jumpsuit and happens to have spent $1 million of your money, which he didn't spend. The government spent your money to try to incarcerate him. And they found out that they didn't have the evidence enough to do it. So you have a man that is insulated by the government. You have a man that is not insulated, standing bare naked before you, enduring all of the hardships, and somehow this is a difficult decision for you to make? The other thing to consider, too, as far as being the silent majority, is taking what you know and opening your mouth. It's about reaching out to your neighbors. Everybody has a mouth. Most people act like they got two mouths and one ear, like me, rather than two ears and one mouth, indicating that the good Lord probably wanted you to listen twice as much as you speak. But since human nature is not like that, and you have the ability to speak no matter what condition you claim to have, why all of a sudden are you mute? This country is absolutely failing. And I think that if you're absolutely going to sit there and act like you're mute, you really have no idea about what's happening. Maybe you're scared to be able to come out of the closet and to admit people, you know what, I'm not really that smart. I don't really read. I don't really know much. I understand that's what's wrong. I mean, I think I understand that something's wrong. I don't know what it is. It's like this is the perfect opportunity for you to be able to reach out to other people that even remotely look like they're speaking the truth and questioning them on what they know, so that you can become better educated to educate other people. And finally, what I think I wanted to mention is that something that I really wanted to commend is people in the last election on the way to the primary. And I watched that thing as closely as I could, and I thought, you know what? Some of these people are newly active people. Some of these people moved from California and they thought, oh my God, I can't believe I moved into this state. I thought it was a conservative state, and it's not conservative at all. What did they do? They didn't just sit here and sit back on their laurels and go, you know what, I'm from California. I'm just going to take a little break right now because it's just too stressful being over there. What they did was they became active. And I have seen activism on a local level like I had never seen before. Never. And although I sound like I condemn it all the time, it's absolutely important. The problem is the periphery thing that I've been trying to help share with people to help them understand something that's going on much bigger, that the people that they're actually electing are not even aware of themselves, in many cases. But these people are becoming active. And what are they doing? They're telling me, Tom, I knocked on 800 doors. I knocked on 1,200 doors. And I said, what did you do? And then they said, I handed out campaign flyers for the person that I believe needs to be voted for. And I said, that's amazing that you've actually hit that many doors. I said, I could just imagine if everybody actually went to the county election office and they printed out their precinct committee maps and they decided that they were going to be precinct captains or working with their precinct chairs, which might be an interesting twist, and to be able to say, you know what, I think we need to canvass our local, we need to canvass our local precinct. What we need to do is we need to print out a map. And we need to go door to door like we've never gone before. And we need to be able to find out who are the friendlies and who are not. And then what we need to do is we need to make sure that once we know that we follow up. We need to find out if they're engaged. We need to find out what their hot button issues are. We need to find out how to get them more engaged. And we need to be able to direct people where they need to go. We need to empower them and we need to communicate with them on a greater level so that they understand that they can be connected with other people at any point in time that they wish to. And this becomes especially more effective to me when I hear all this stuff about, well, Tom, the media is just not, I'm being shadow banned on social media and I'm not being used on TV. Nobody wants interviews with me. It's like, okay, great. So now that we've identified the problem, what's the solution to that problem? Well, the solution to the problem is to be able to utilize we the people, since it's our constitutional republic, and we were required to be able to defend that republic against the abuse of powers. What do you think we can do with being together on this type of an issue to overcome the media narrative? Well, one of them is to challenge the media narrative, and I don't see hardly anybody doing that. What if we did that? What if we increased our ground game? What if we ended up bringing together the critical players that we needed to in our state? We've got everybody that's operating in their own circle of influence, right? You've got this guy over here and he's got a couple thousand. You got this guy over here that might have 100. You got this guy over here that's got 5,000, and we're all focusing on this, right? We want that piece of the pie, right? Oh, you got to join the militia, and you've got to join the Tea Party, and you got to join this, and you got to join that. Imagine what would happen if all of the leaders decided to say, you know what? If the number one thing that people wanted was for people to come together, then why don't we give the people what they want? I mean, we're all fighting for liberty, right? Whether it's vaccine mandates, whether it's the governor calling you essential, whether they're, trying to be able to put you on a retina scan, or they're trying to do the latest thing that I haven't heard anybody about, these STAR cards, which is nothing more than a federalization of identification. What if you put all of those people together? It would be something that the left would never imagine. It would be something that the government wouldn't imagine, because they know that if we did this, it would be contrary to human nature. Well, unless you're a leftist, because they're all communists or collectivists anyways. But if we could learn from any of those mistakes or any of the brilliances that we're seeing today, carrying the narrative is really important. Trying to shorten those talking points, because nobody has the attention span to be able to learn anything far beyond, you're racist, you're a homophobe, you're a xenophobe. There's a lot more. And once you commit to becoming more educated and you start seeing things the way that you need to see things, and you become articulate enough to be able to share those things with other people, I can only imagine that you'd become more powerful. I mean, I'm still waiting. But really, though, you could become a trusted advocate. You could become a major part of handing the enemy what they deserve and taking Idaho back. We could be taking Idaho back in a very big way. So this is far beyond supporting this gun group, or this other group, or this other group, or this other group. Why don't we agree that we should be coming together for the greater good, if you will, and for the cause of liberty? The other thing I wanted to mention to you is something else. A lot of people will say, well, I don't get involved in politics. Well, I was looking up the Greek word for politics, and that is the affairs of the city. one could conclude that those are the affairs of the county or that they're the affairs of the state. Either way, they're the affairs that affect you. So if this is a citizens' republic and you don't believe in politics and you don't believe in participating in the affairs of the city or the county or the state, is it any wonder why the government is screwed up? It's because you're not there. If your idea is to be able to prep and to learn how to communicate with other people when the grid goes down, are you not only admitting defeat? Are you so narrow-minded and so selfish that the only thing that you're considering is yourself? You're like, well, no, I'm teaching other people to ham radio and I'm teaching other people to how to prep. It's like, that's all well and good. But why don't you teach people about the freaking 800-pound gorilla in the room so that they can understand what's going on and how to fight it before they have to put a firearm in their hand? This is part of the short-sightedness I just don't get. I just don't understand why people are just like, I talk to people, they're like, oh, Tom, talk to the hand. The only thing I'm considering is revolution because it's all that's left. Man, that involves a whole different segment. If these people are so narrow-minded, the only thing that they can think for is to be able to prepare for an armed revolution, do they not understand the consequence of what that is? Once you go there, you will never come back. This country will never come back. Because what is formed against us is so large, they have plans for every attempt that we make stepping outside of where we are right now. They're already picking off political prisoners, and people don't even know who they are in many cases. They're not concerned with who they are. It's that whole quote, well, they came for the Jews, but I wasn't a Jew. They came after the Christians, and I wasn't a Christian. They came after so-and-so, and they came after so-and-so. Do you know what happens after that? They come for you. So why wouldn't you be engaged while you have an opportunity to go home and kiss your wife or your husband or hug your dog or go for a walk or go for a hike? Why would you allow the government to continue to amass so much power to the point where you think that grabbing your pea shooter because you've got your Second Amendment with you, my gun, that you think somehow that you're gonna stave off these people that are coming for you? It's a joke to me. And I'm sorry if I'm laughing at some of you for this, but I'm really not. What I'm really saying is I'm just trying to be honest, as I've always been. I've never taken political sides. I've called what I believe to be true, and it doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you're on. If you're a Republican, if you're a constitutionalist, if you're a cop, if you're a commissioner, if you're something else, you know what? If you're wrong, I'm going to tell you. And why wouldn't I? And why wouldn't more of you do that? Meanwhile, all of these entities that are carrying the narrative are receiving little resistance at all because we've already accepted defeat. Well, the media's leftist. We just don't have any control over that. Why? There's no point in fighting it, right? Well, then the newspaper, there's no point in writing letters to the editor. Well, they posted one of mine. There's no point in writing to our Congress. It's like, how many more excuses do you need to just walk away from your country? How many? Maybe you should be put on a firing squad, a proverbial firing squad, by the way, in front of all of your patriots and saying, I just looked for any excuse I could not to be involved. And then we could just usher you out and tell you, you know what, thank you, but we're not interested. I don't know of anybody that's saying things like this. Perhaps maybe it puts a bigger target on my forehead. But you know what? If you can't understand my love of country and my love of people in my state, then you shouldn't be listening here either. And I'll tell you that straight up. I'm not doing this for listeners. I'm not doing this for monetary means. I'm doing this to save my state. Everything that I'm doing is trying to be able to encourage other people to be able to realize if something is being smeared, it's probably something you should support. If the media is supporting something, you can almost guarantee it's a lie. If the GOP, for God's sakes, at least as history has shown, has supported something, you can almost guarantee that it's not even truthful. Fox News will tell you the problem, but they never tell you the solution. Some of these other news sources will not tell you, they'll tell you the problem, oh, it's the Democrats, but it doesn't tell you what the problem is, and nobody tells you what to do about it. So if you are truly telling me today, as I've heard from many of you, number one, Tom, I wish we could get together. Here's your opportunity. Tom, I just wish I had something to do. If you want something to do, we can provide that for you too. We're a one-stop Liberty shop, for crying out loud. If it's something that you need, I would like to be able to hear the phone ring. I'm sure all of these other people would like to hear the phone ring. You want to support guns? Support guns. But do you want to support the personal right to carry a firearm, or do you want to support the Second Amendment in its entirety? Do you want to focus on vaccines, or you want to focus on that, or do you want to focus on the global agenda that's enforcing those vaccines? Do you want to focus on the fact that they're putting black boxes in your car and they're raising your gas prices, or do you want to understand who's doing it and why? Do you want to focus on gender confusion and what's going on in your local library, which is all of these things are important? Or do you want to understand why? Do you want to help other people understand why? Are you fighting a local windmill project in your community? And if you think that if you join with them and somehow you get enough people to be able to stop that, do you think that the globalists are going to go, oh, well, in that case, we probably better not do it? Or do you want to teach them why it's happening and how it's happening, and to be able to focus things at the level for which they're happening? It's time to be able to open up our eyes, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to be able to see things beyond the low-level areas in that we're focusing. It's time to focus on the big picture. If you want to focus on something local, that's perfect. But understand the bigger picture so that you can help people understand, look, if you end up winning this thing at this level, they're coming back. They're going to come back twice as hard, and they probably already have contingency plans to be able to manipulate your mind and to be able to use the media and the government to be able to carry its narrative, and we better figure out a way around that. So I think in closing today, you guys, I wanted to encourage you to do my best to become more active. I wanted to encourage you and let you know that when you tell me the things that you want, and I try to help address the things that you want, by you backing away and you not calling anybody and you not standing up and being part of the crew that's standing up, why waste your time? Why waste your time wasting other people's time? You're either in or you're out. There's no middle ground here. We don't need sitters in the boat. We need rowers. We need people that are willing to be able to take those oars and to work as fast as they can, going upstream if you have to, until you die. Because liberty is important and liberty depends on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like it, do whatever you're supposed to do. If you don't, I don't really care. Talk to you guys later. If I can figure out how to stop this thing. Blocked. I can't figure out how to unlock this thing. Oops.